Board digital design. This is your second cheat code to ensure that you will be able to make, design and shape a good board, even as a beginner. Imagine that this is your virtual shaping room where you can have fun, play around, learn basics about the board designs and basically build the countless amount of boards. And why this is important? Because once you're gonna design the board in the program, you're basically creating and building your own instruction for what you need to do while shaping. Even when you're speaking about the hand shaping, I highly recommend using this as your guides. Now, a lot of people who want to shape the first board will start from searching for some kind of template or copying the already existing board they have, and that's totally fine. That's gonna give you also a great results. But making yourself a plan using any kind of digital program is must have in my opinion. It's gonna help you a lot, and yeah, it's cheaper to design 10 boards here than fuck up 10 boards in real life. So let's jump right into this. Now we can speak at today's about three main programs that shapers are using to designing the board, which is the Shape 3D, and this is the main program I'm working with, and this is the program that I'm gonna be showing you everything. The other is the AccuShaper, another great program to design the boards. The third one is the BoardCut. It's an open source free software to do. Both AccuShaper and Shape 3D, they have a free plan, though there is some limitations. I would say like check all of this free, check the one you think it's the easiest one for you, because we don't gonna need to create anything crazy here. We're just gonna go over the basics and to create the basics design. We will be doing all of that here in the Shape 3D. And I have to say that after this, we will need to print our templates, and in the Shape 3D, you can only print the templates if you paid for the basic version, which costs around €5 per month. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer that you have to pay it for this program. But if you're planning to do only one board, what I would recommend is really just spend this €5, do a couple of designs, and just cancel the subscription, and that's it. So this €5 in the total is not a lot compared to what actually you're gonna be spending to make the board, and this can save you a lot of frustration and a lot of mistakes and errors. So I would say it's worth it. And if you don't like it, well, I highly recommend after that video check some videos about other programs to get more familiar with the UI. First thing, when you're gonna open the Shape 3D, you're gonna have this window, and what you want to go to File, New File, and then you have the general design and the blank design. I never somehow made the blank design working for me, so if someone knows about that, let me know. But I will stick to the general design, and here you can choose a couple of surfboards. That actually doesn't matter. What we want to focus is on the bottom. First, make sure that you have the measurements along the stringer, as this is kind of important. Choose whichever metric imperial system you want, and you can always switch it. And below you have the general things like length, tail rocker, nose rocker, width. And the first thing what we're gonna do, we need to design our blank that I asked you in the last video to choose. So it's gonna be our reference point for designing our board. I'm gonna go fast and put all the details that I need for that. With our measurements spot on, I'm gonna click OK, and that's gonna create us our first model. Always what I do, I'm just hiding the bottom part and extending the top part. This is my working space and this is my navigation space. And if you're gonna go just right up here, you have the outline, you have the rocker, and here you have the slices. So you can easily switch between them. What I want you to pay attention here is to go to the right bar when we have our table. And what you have here, you have the measurements from the tail, which is 0 from the tail and 12 inches from the tail. And this is for the width, thickness of the stringer, and the rocker measurements. And below you have exactly the same stuff for your nose. You can open more, so you're gonna have more of these measurements. So with our rough measurements that we put, now we need to design the rest of the blank. We're gonna start from designing the overall outline of the board. The easiest part is gonna be set up the nose width first. You can click the point on the nose, and just with the nose, pay attention to the measurements here, how they are changing. 0 from the nose, which is the width, and we're going to the 8.25. It doesn't have to be perfect, like this tiny small changes will not affect later your board when you just the rough design. And as you can see on the blank, there is like 11/16 of an inch width, and this is the measurement 12 inches from the nose, and we have 12 inches, we have 18/3/8. So we have from the nose as 46. Yeah, we need a bit, it's like you need a bit wider. So basically you can go with extend this line to achieve, which is 47/47. Yep, it's right that. You're gonna do the same, exactly the same stuff for the tail. If you're gonna click on the point and then right click, for example here, you can go and delete that. It's gonna ask you if yes you want to delete that, and then just use this one point to go around. That's totally okay. So as you can see, we have roughly our outline, and here what we're gonna be working is the rocker and the foil. The foil is how the thickness is distributed from the most thick point, which is usually around the center, and how this thickness change and thins down going to the nose and to the tail. This is the foil. So we want to set up our rocker and our foil, working on that. We're gonna start from setting up the rocker, and again, to set up the rocker we have these dots here that going up and down gonna allow you to go to change the nose rocker, the tail rocker, and then we're gonna go for the foil. Okay, so our rocker measurements are set. Now I'm gonna play with the tops, the points on the top, and by setting the foil is gonna set our thickness of the blank. So again, the thickness on the 0 from the nose is 1.25. So this is what we're gonna go and do. Don't be afraid, that's gonna be looking a bit weird, because yeah, especially the way the designing the stringer, that looks weird. But hang on, when we're gonna jump to the actual board design, it's gonna be way easier. So we have our blank design. What I want to do is to go to the file, save as, and we're gonna save it as a blank. Now we need to prepare one thing. Remember on the first video I asked you to prepare the board that you're gonna be inspired by, and based on which you're gonna choose your blank. I want you to go and take the screenshots of the general rocker and the outline. So with the screenshots done, you want to use the themes for the same board that you're gonna be inspiring by, or from totally different board. It's up to you. Play around with that. Just do not go too crazy. I will go with the 5.6, 21, 2.5. 2.5 personally is my preferable thickness for the board when I do for myself. And if I would design it this for myself, I would probably go a bit more narrower to the measurements this, but again, this is my just preferences. I want to put the 5.6 in total, 21 of the width and 2.5 of the thickness. I'm gonna go and open our outline spec. So we're gonna go to resize, make sure that you are like measurements along the stringer, and this is very important for the hand shape specifically. Now I'm gonna go length, we have what, 5.6, the width is 21. 0. Tail rocker and the nose rocker, just leave it, and the thickness 2.5, and it's gonna click OK. Now we have our weird looking board, doesn't matter. You want to go to superpose, ghost image, load the ghost image, pick the outline image you took, and now we have our lovely image. Now you want to move it, grab on the sides and roughly scale it to the size of your board. Then you're gonna go back supports. Once you can also rotate the image if you need, but then if everything is on place, click lock the image, so the image is locked. It's gonna be moving together with our outline. So we want to go and match this, and if you're gonna see there is a bit difference between the bottom outline, let's say, and the top outline, that's totally fine. I'm gonna go and I'm using my arrow keys to move left and right and to match roughly the outline. Now this point I do not recommend clicking this and moving. You can move back and forward, but always make sure that if you're gonna go to this panel, and this part is turned on, because if you're gonna turn this one, is gonna be turned on. You can change the outline this way, which is not a good thing if you want to keep the nice clean outline over the board. Okay, so this, I'm gonna narrow this down a bit. Cool. Now I'm gonna go click the nose and roughly work on the nose, and now we are left with the tail. First of all, I'm gonna bring this back so it's more sharper, and I'm gonna go all the way. You can go see this. Basically, you want to play around to roughly achieve your outline, and as you can see, I didn't went and cut the tail for that, as you don't need that. You can do it by hand later and design your tail by hand, which is more helpful. But if you want to do this, obviously you can. What you can do is bam, right click, control point at the new point, then measure how much you can choose from the tail, center of the nose, how far from the tail you want this to be, bam, done, and you can manipulate it the way you want. If you have the situation when it goes like that, it means that you need to go again back to this panel, click the second, I don't know how to, dots where you can basically be breaking the point, and from there, I don't know, for example, you can design kind of like this super fat ugly roughly wing. Now this is just to show you the rough idea how you want to play with this, and just by looking on that, we have our rough outline. You can easily go to the resize model. As we remember, we narrow down a bit just to more or less keep the proportion, go and adjust back your desired width. So first thing I want to check is where is my widest point of the board, how much is moved towards the nose or towards the back, and how far from the center is moved. Now what I can see here, this is quite a lot. I would like personally recommend to not go over 3 inches. Like the 3 inches from the center forward is like the maximum for the fish. Everything less is gonna go more to the already or for the groveler, and everything less is gonna go for the hybrids. If you're gonna move behind, it's more to the performance shortboards. I would basically stick for your first board anywhere between 2 inches forward and half an inch back from the center. Your main goal is to get the rough outline of something that you would like to surf, or something that we know that's gonna work. Doesn't have to be perfect. What you need to be looking for is to make it clean. So to make the curve that you're watching to be clean and doesn't have any kind of rough or like bad looking spots. But yeah, you did that break. So this break is intentional. So there is like intentional break within the outline that, let's say, you want to have. But if you're gonna do something, let's say like that, yeah, and you're gonna go to your 3D space, so this part looks okay, but like from the center back, that doesn't look like it's gonna work. Like, have you ever saw the board like that, and which wasn't any artistic or crazy shape? Probably not. So you need to find this kind of balance that sometimes some stuff just looks right and there is no real answer to it. See, that looks just way better. Now, if you're gonna go and pick to the nose, it looks like it's going super thin here, and that's because it actually does. So what you can do is manipulate. I'll slightly open this part up, and yeah, that looks a bit more fuller and better for me. Now, to be honest, I don't really like this break in the rail. I'm gonna do and delete that point. Cool. Now looks weird again. So it looks like here is more or less okay, but then here is kind of a straight point, and it's like it just doesn't look good. So what I'm gonna do, I don't like this curve here. I'm just gonna go slightly more like that, and this, let's see, okay, more or less. Now it's personally too wide for me. Okay, let's leave it like that. So what we basically did here, we just designed the rough outline of kind of groveler fish. Don't bother to design and to try design things like a tail or to whatever. You're just gonna do it by hand. Way better, way faster, way more fun. So with our general outline done, the next step you want to move to is designing the rocker. And let me close that image. And again, you want to do exactly the same thing. So ghost image, load the ghost image, and you want to open kind of the rocker. You can see it's not really fitting. I'm gonna click shift so I can rotate it, as the image wasn't the perfect. And I'm gonna roughly scale up the board to match with the bot. And again, do not really worry about that it is slightly thicker here. That's okay. You can match it, up to you, but I would just stay around something like that. Cool. Go, lock the image, and start to work over the rocker. So first thing you want to do is you want to match the rockers here. I'm gonna go bring this point all the way down, and this point kind of feather out to roughly fit. And the same I'm gonna do with the tail rocker. What you want to search for is to for the lines to be clean. Like if there is some kind of weird twisting you need to do with the lines in order to fit to your image, it means that the image is twisted, not your board and your design. So use it as a really rough guides, and then you're gonna adjust the foil and the thickness across. I'm gonna do roughly like that. Yep, the same with the cool. Now we can go and refine this. So let's see our thickness. So here's like thickness 0.41 inch, which personally I like to go below 4, around 30 is a good thickness for the nose to have. And again, don't go too crazy. You see, it's not, the rocker here is not perfect, but that doesn't really matter. Remember that these boards already have on the photos have the bottom contours that can give a shade on the photos, and actually they're changing the actual rocker of the board. So really use it as your rough guide. Now with the time thickness, anything below 0.7 inch is good. The thicker you're gonna have, the faster the board's gonna be. The thinner you're gonna have, the less fast the board's gonna be, and it goes the same to the width of the tail and all that stuff. But we're gonna be speaking about that a bit later. So yeah, I have roughly my rocker adjust. I have the stringer bottom here, which is like 3.8 inch, and for that type of board, for the small wave board, personally for me it's too much. Let's say 3.5, it's gonna be okay. And if you want to have a slightly easier entry, you can always like extend slightly this point to go and do a slightly more kind of stage rocker. So again, like everywhere there's like bunch of small adjustments, and again back here I'm gonna put this down so to make the thickness. And this is actually an interesting part that I want to address, and for me, so you see like this flip on the nose that this board has. Keep in mind that basically the overall rocker is quite low and is graduated, and then more or less from this point you have like a kind of aggressive flip. Do not be crazy if you have this on the board and you're designing your rocker. Do not be crazy to do this here on the cut, as it's better for you to leave yourself kind of 0.34, even sometimes 0.40, this thickness of the nose, and this use as your rocker when you're gonna be shaping the rocker, and then just by the hand just flip this part. Like this last 2 inches that you're gonna be flipping by hand, that's gonna change your, let's say, nose rocker on the 0.0. It's not gonna change the way the board works, and in most times it's a really just a visual aspect to do to thin out the nose. So do not really be crazy about that. And I might be wrong, but there was an amazing article by, I would say by Jerry Lopez, but I'm not sure if it was by him, when he explained basically that the first 3 to 6 inches of the nose rocker doesn't surf, and that it could be easily chopped down, and for the sake of surfing itself you not really feel a lot of difference. And it's the amazing article to read about that, and really nice thing to take for the consideration. So we have our deck, our foil and our outline. Based on the board we're gonna go to our 3D view and to see our looks okay, looks nice. The last part you want to focus on is going to be our bottom contours. And here is the thing about the bottom contours. I would not design them in the CAD program. You don't really need to. Like, we're gonna be doing this by hand. We're gonna be doing and focusing over the 3 basics contours. The single concave. So basically what the single concave does is increase your rail line rocker and decrease your center rocker compared to the point of the nose. Really typical for the tail is the double concave, and the last part is the V. And all of these 3 types of the bottom contours, depends how you're gonna mix and match them, gonna give you different outcomes. I recommend use the description of bottom contours from the board you're gonna be inspired by. And yeah, when we're gonna be really shaping this, I'm gonna give some, let's say, magic numbers that they just work, and also what I like, what I don't like. Stick to the combination of these 3 things, which is single concave, the double concave and the V. And based on these 3 types of bottom contour, you can actually design bottom contour for any type of shorter boards, which is like not the mid-length, but short board, performance board, groveler, fish, hybrid, you name it, you can design it. So with the rocker and the outline design, I want you to go to the ghost board, load the ghost board, superpose, choose ghost board, load the ghost board, and load the blank you designed. No, you don't want to scale it. And here what we can see, this purple outline is your blank. So we're gonna start from the most important part, which is fitting your board inside the blank. Let's rotate it a bit, guys, just slightly like that, and then define the kind of a center. So actually you don't need to go as crazy as I just did, but what you want to see if your board is fitting inside the blank you designed. And if yes, it means that you designed quite a good board. What I mean by that, as we speak in the second video where I speak about the blank, choosing the right blank, these blanks are usually designed by shapers, and if not, they're usually used by a lot of shapers. So although you need to put your own rocker, you need to change some stuff in the blank, as long as your board fits inside the blank that is properly chosen, you more or less can make sure that your rocker, your outline is spot on and it's gonna be working, like the tail here and like the nose. So keep this in mind. And this is also when we speak about choosing the close tolerance blank. Let's say that the thinner the blank you're gonna choose, the more narrow the blank you're gonna choose, and the more your design is like on the edge and it fits all nicely, it means that there is a bigger chance that it's gonna work. Also, it means that there is less material to take out, which introduce less work, which goes to introducing less errors and less changing the blank itself. But about the rail, as with the bottom contours, this is something that we will be speaking while shaping, and we're gonna design the rail for our board based on the blank and on some other factors. But for someone who is starting, it's gonna be better to design the rail on the paper and then translate it to the shape and match it with the blank you choose, instead of like fighting over that to create something different. This way there's gonna be more chances that your board is gonna work. So what I recommend you to do with this design, what you did is to go and make 3, 4, 5 designs. Like you did the first one, you're closing this, you're doing the new one based on the same image of the board, and then you're closing the next one, and then choose the outline that looks better and more fluent for you, for your eye, just like more right. I don't know, this is like a weird explanation, but yeah, just if you're gonna design 4 boards, from all of these 4 boards there is gonna be one that looks more right and the other that looks not as right, okay? And although 3D visualization is quite nice, it's not always shows actually how the design looks. So what I want you to do when you design this, I want you to print 1 or 2 templates of these boards that you design, put them together. You can print them off on A4, put them together, cut the outline and put on the wall or on the ground, and once they're gonna be side by side, just choose the one that looks better, and that is your outline design. Now what I want to show you is my process of designing the board, and as I'm not starting from the scratch, I'm working based on my previous designs, my previous models. I just want to improve them or change something to create the board that I want to surf. So I have this board, it's called Lazy Bunny, and this is basically a 5'4", like super flat wave groveler. It's 5'4", super wide, super thick everywhere, and yeah, this is one of the first and really good design that I did when I started to shape the boards. And the idea for it was to help for me to progress in smaller waves, to get better turns, so I can do the same stuff with more shortboard boards over the normal waves. But I grew up a bit from this board, though I want to design kind of a performance version of this. And to do it, well, first what I want to have, I want this board to be longer for sure. So this is the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna like stretch it out. At the same time, I want this to be slightly more narrow. So it's not like 20 point, I think like 19.7, like let's say 75 can be. And the thickness I want to leave the same, and the rockers for now the same. First thing I want to start is the white point, and here I have my white point pretty forward. It was good for 5'4", to be better for paddling, but as I want this to be a bit more performance, I think about to move it back 1.5 inch from the center. It's like a sweet spot. So this is kind of a fish that I designed a while ago. It's like stretch out fish with the beef up rails. It's a nice board as a transition. I designed it for my girlfriend basically, and I found it myself stealing this board so much from her. I really enjoy the way this board works, and I really enjoy the way I designed the front half of the board. From the visual point of view, it's like a still kind of wide nose, but it just has a nice curve that looks just right and is pleasing. And I know it works because I surf it, so I want to have the same. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open the 5.7 version of it, which is here, and as you can see, I have the board like here. The pink outline is the 5.7 fish. I'm gonna adjust it. Actually, let me see how this looks. That could be a kind of funny, a bit like white nose, slightly rounded. Actually, it's not looking too bad. Okay, so with our nose design, I'm gonna go to our 3D view, and yeah, I'm kind of happy. So we have the nose basically the way we want, a bit more fuller, cool. The white point is forward, which is here, 35 inches from the tail. Now we need to work on our tail. I don't want to keep exactly the same tail, or to be honest, I'm not sure which tail I really want to do. I really like the white tail on that board and it's super fast. But sometimes you have this feeling like it's like slightly too wide. So basically I want to narrow it down compared to the original. And yeah, and even this, all of this point I can, wait, for something like that, it looks super weird. There is like this kind of bulb here, which is actually not so bad. Yeah, let's say kind of a straight point here. For sure I want to have some kind of break in the rail because this is gonna be the quad. And what I found, if you want to have a quad that just turns nice and tight, or you need to have like a lot of curve over the tail, or you need to have some kind of break into the tail to create that pivot point. And personally, this is what I experiment a lot since the last couple of years, and I like it. I actually have in mind the tail I want to do, and I could design that tail here, but I also not gonna do it because two reasons. Maybe I'm gonna decide to do a different tail, and then you don't need to really go crazy around the tail design. So let's say that what matters here is the overall thickness of the tail here, the break here, and then if you're gonna introduce any hardcore changes here. But let's say you have this like last 2 inches. It doesn't matter if you're gonna do like shallow fishtail or some kind of round tail with the wings. As long as you gonna keep it with this like 2 inches and there's gonna be not too much changes. Of course, each tail gonna work a bit different and it's gonna translate to the board, but in the 90% situations, you're not gonna tell it and you're not gonna feel it. You can easily go with the tail that you just think looks nice. There is for sure a small differences, but again, imagine if I hear like I'm gonna, when I'm hand shaped, like I'm gonna put like this 2 inches mark and we're gonna do like this moon tail here. Trust me, that's not gonna change anything for your surfing. It's just gonna change the way your board looks. So, or you can design this here, or you can leave it like that and you're gonna refine this later. And this is what we're gonna be actually doing just for the sake of showing this, and just because I don't really know which one from 2 options I'm gonna prefer. And to know which one I'm gonna prefer, once you're gonna be on that point of shaping, I'm just gonna draw the both tails and pick up the one I like most. What we're gonna open now is we're gonna open the original 5.4 Lazy Bunny, and the way I'm opening the original size is to compare it what I designed and what you can see here. Yeah, so we have stretch out nose, but overall narrower and refined part. Cool. This is what I want from that board. And hear me out. I'm gonna shape this board, and it doesn't mean that this is gonna be the final version of that board. Probably I'm gonna surf it, and in the future I'm gonna know what to do some changes. And this is how developing the new board and the new model looks like. And finally we can go to the rocker. Things about the rocker to consider these days. When you're gonna be designing your board, you read about the rocker, and wherever you're searching for which rocker you should design in your board from the perspective of making the board, or as a customer to buy the board. So we're gonna find low rocker, medium rocker, and the high rocker. So what the fuck that means? I mean, if you're designing the board, what that means? What are these exact numbers? Which is the first thing, and then what is the curve of that rocker? Because high performance board rocker on the tip of the nose doesn't mean that just after that point you have like still a high rocker. You can really go to the medium or even low rocker. But to not make your life harder, I'm gonna give you some measurements. I would consider everything around 3 inches till like 3.5. I would consider this as a low rocker. 3.5, 3.6 up to 4, I would consider this as a medium rocker, and between the 4 and a 5 I would consider this as a like high rocker. Though you need to remember that if low rocker on the 5.4, which is let's say 3 inches, it's not gonna be the same as on something that is 6.0. Probably like if you're gonna take the 6.0, then you can speak about the low rocker around like 3.5, 3.6. So depends which length of the board you have. This also scales up and scales down, so keep this in mind. But yeah, for example, so Lazy Bunny 5.4 has like around 3 inches nose rocker, which I consider as a low rocker. We have on the scale up version 5.7 also 5.1, so this is, I would even say for this size it's not low, it's already flat rocker. And if we gonna go to this everyday board 5.7, which has exactly 3.6, the bottom, I would consider this already as a medium rocker. And I find myself using this on kind of really steep waves sometimes, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm gonna try to keep the rocker similar here to my 5.7, just because I like this rocker. So, and if you're gonna see now, if I'm gonna like move all the way up this way, I'm moving, but I'm moving the whole curve, which is not good. So let me work slightly to refine slightly my curve in general. And let's see, so we have like 3.5. I don't want this to be like so much 3.5. I would say like, yeah, kind of nice. From the center to basically almost the end of the nose, the curve is really similar. Then there is like a big drop on the nose, which is very fine. That's gonna give you an extra boost. But also what I want you to think about, so we have this thickness here, and normally the nose of the board will not be that thick. I like really thin noses, and this is what we're gonna do. So we have our rocker set up, and then there are the last 2-3 inches. What I'm gonna do, once I'm gonna set all my rocker, when I'm gonna be hand shaping, I'm just gonna by hand, and I'm gonna show you how to, without measuring anything, I'm just gonna do like a nice flip just on the tip of the nose. The reason I'm doing this, I just like the board to look great, and I don't like to leave them looking unfinished. Also, doing this way and designing the board this way is actually easier for designing, so you don't have like weird curves that looks like weird on the designing software and can destroy your point of view when you're searching this. Like, because for now this looks great like here on the design software, but if I would like go and like just like at the flip here, it would be looking like just this part like here as a 3D model, it would be looking so weird, trust me. So I just like to do it by hand. Now the tail rocker, so I want this board to be fast, and if you want to have the board to be fast, what you do the low rocker white tail. Let me move this here, just visualization. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Our board at that point is basically ready. What I would do now, I would go to bottom contours of the board, and I would work over the rail and the bottom contours. Now the board is designed, and this is what you're gonna be shaping, but you're gonna be like, hey dude, so cool, you designed the board, you showed us everything, but you basically have your rail, you have your bottom contours designed there, and we don't have it, and you said that we don't need that to shape the board. And yes, you don't need that. This is what I designed, and I would usually give this for the CNC machine, and I have the board. Perfect. But as I'm gonna be hand shaping this board, and I'm gonna be hand shaping this for you guys to show how to shape the board, what we're gonna do now, and as I said that you don't need to have at this stage designed bottom contours and you don't have at this stage designed the rail. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna slightly destroy our stuff. You can see now, like, I can bet you this stuff is not gonna work at all. So I just destroyed my bottom contours and I just destroyed my rail, which at this stage you don't need that, and I don't need that too. I'm the way we're gonna design the bottom contours and the rail we're gonna do on the paper by hand, and we're gonna speak about that already within the shaping stage and why like that. So yeah, this is our weird looking board. We have our outline, we have our rocker, and we have our foil. And as you see, I did my bottom contours flat and I destroyed my rail. So I'm gonna be starting with the same point as you when it goes to shaping, and not that I have it easier and you don't have it so you don't know what to do. No, we're gonna be on exactly the same moment of shaping and has the same struggle with the rail and the bottom contours. Now the last thing to check is to go and load our ghost board, which is our blank, and to see if actually my design fits inside the blank I designed. And when you're feeling like, think about that you want the top of the blank be as close to the deck of your design. And that's also important. We're gonna be speaking this when we're gonna be working over the rockers. You can see that actually our board fits inside the blank that I choose and that I roughly designed here. And this is the most important, the outline. Well, with the outline in 90% situations, you're gonna fit your design. Now think about that. When I was speaking about the close tolerance blank, there is a huge chance that I could take more, let's say, close tolerance blank, which I really highly encourage you to do. But I already choose my blank, then I design the board. So I would say, like, choose your reference board, choose your blank, design your board, check if your blank is good for that, and maybe try to choose different blank and then see if it fits, and then order the one that is the most close tolerance one. But from my side, so there is gonna be, especially in terms of outline, some stuff to cut out, which is good actually for the sake of this tutorial, because that's gonna introduce us to a common and actually annoying problem that we'll need to address and fix it. And if you're gonna check a lot of handshake boards by people that's starting, a lot of people don't address that mistake and the board just looks off, and we're gonna work on that. Okay, so we have our board designed, and the next thing we need to do is to prepare for printing the templates. So what you want to go to resize. I'm just gonna use like that, it's easier. If you have any somewhere like 7.1, you can destroy it to just have the exact measurements you want to have. Now the most important thing you need to do is to check measurements along the stringer. So what that means that this is the measurements, this is the length based of our rocker, along our rocker, not the straight line, because that's two different stuff. And the reason why you need to have it along the stringer is when you be gonna putting the width on the middle, 12 inch from the nose, blah blah blah, is it's gonna be over the straight line, you're gonna have totally different points than when it goes over the stringer, and then your template will not line up with the measurements. So it's really important to do and to have this checked, measurements along the stringer, and then everything based here again along the stringer. Now when we're gonna go to our thickness, this is our outcome thickness. So this is the thickness we want to have in our finished board, and this is what it would look like if you would normally design the board with the bottom contours. Then the thickness would be like 2.5. Though remember, we have a flat bottom, which means right now we have 2.5 thickness with the bottom flat, and we still gonna add the single concave under the middle. So what we need to do for this plan, for our hand shape, the way we're gonna be doing this, we need this to be thicker, so we have our room to add the single concave. Otherwise you're gonna do the board thinner than you would like to. How deep this concave actually should be, and I need to touch this here as we just want to have a proper measurement. So it's basically up to you. You can use how much deep the concave you want to do, or how much shallow, or you can leave it flat. Some boards are like that. But personally, what I would recommend for anything which is like in the shortboard, groveler type category, I would go 3/16 of an inch, which is in this terms is like 0.2 of the inch. So if I have 2.5, I would have 2.7 in total the thickness of my board. And then I'm gonna click apply and bam. Though we're gonna also check, yeah, everything fits. Nice. This is important because remember, we're gonna shape the rocker and then we're gonna add the bottom contours to it. So keep this in mind. Okay, moving forward, we're going to our plan window. And as you can see here, you have different types of plans. Actually, I would use this one. Is super visible, easy to check what we need. So yeah, what we have here is basically the full scale outline that you can print it, and we're not gonna use this one. And the reason is we're gonna use something what is called the spin template. It's smaller and in my opinion better because forces you to use the actual measurements, not the, let's say, outline you cut out of the paper. And it's like the smaller form factor, so it's actually easier to use personally for me, and it's a better to have a consistent measurements and also easier to tweak. We want to go to the full scale and then click the spin template. And what that's gonna give you, as you can see, we have weird looking template from both sides, and one side is the nose to the center and the other side is the tail to the center. And this is like basically your template in a really small form factor, where you need to use again the actual measurements from your spreadsheet to line it everything up. And to make it good and fit, you need to have your rocker be dialed in basically perfectly. Otherwise, you're gonna introduce the error and the stuff will be offset, which also we're gonna cover that how you can fix it slightly. Anyway, and I'm gonna go and print both of this stuff. That's it for today. I showed you how to design a board. I showed you how to do it from scratch based off the reference photo and based off the board you're gonna be inspiring by. Thanks to this, you knew how to choose the blank. Thanks to this, you knew how to design a board, and all this free stuff needs to go like together, because your design not gonna fit in the blank you choose. Well, it's not. It means that probably your design is not as good as it could be, and I highly recommend to again using the blanks also as a main reference and the photo reference as basically the overall idea what type of board you want to shape. Now, what I would say, have fun with that. Create couple of designs, like create the one design, check if it fits inside your blank. If it fits, amazing, close it, save it, close it, create the new one, and check later the differences between them. You can also like print the full scale templates, cut it, hang them on the wall, and to see which one in real life based on the templates looks kind of cool for you and which one is not, and choose the one that is better, and then just print your spreadsheet and the spin template, which we're gonna actually finish making in the next video, where I'm gonna be speaking about the tools you need, and we will cover the tools that are necessary to do the job and the ones that are optional to do the job. So you don't need to like crazy bunch of expensive shaping tools to buy just to shape one or two boards at the beginning. Yeah, hope you enjoy it, have fun with that, and see you for the next one.